Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you are joining me in what may be my first ever hands-on experience with a fully electric vehicle. Electric cars don't really do it for me, so I've kind of like stayed clear from them. But today I dropped off my BMW M4 to BMW to get some work done to it, and they've put me into a BMW X1, or should I call it the iX1 electric car. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this car, but as I'm sitting in this car, I'll go through the interior and what this car actually feels like. We're then going to look at the exterior and give you like an idea of what this car looks like from the outside, and then go on that drive. So this BMW iX1 is going to be pretty much the same as any other X1 anyway. From the interior, there might be a few telltale signs that this is an electric car, but other than that, the interior dash is going to be pretty much the same. I do like the whole kind of fit and finish of this X1. I'll call it the X1 rather than iX1 because it is essentially the same thing. The steering wheel, for example, has got quite a nice fair bit of detail on here as well. It is an M Sport, M badging, looks quite good there though. As this is an electric car, it has like a blue ring around the BMW logo. This is like the new kind of steering wheel, so all these buttons around here do feel quite different to, let's say, something like a G20 for example. You've got, obviously they're all physical buttons and whatnot, so it's quite easy to kind of get on with. What I do like is like the door card here as well. Soft leatherette on the top, might be faux leather but it is there. And I do like this kind of grab handle here because that just feels quite nice, and the amount of detail that they've gone to it, because it's kind of protrudes out of, like, say, the actual door as well. Quite soft. Pretty much the whole door card is quite soft, and even this door handle is quite nice as well. Bit of design that's gone into there. I do like the infotainment screen here. It is pretty much like what you'd find in most new BMW, so it's probably the, I don't know, iDrive 8 I believe it is, something like that. It is all touch screen. So you got your heater controls now all integrated into there. You got a climate menu there, and then you got various things in here. You've got a wireless charging pad over there, which is quite large, cup holders, and this center console. You've got your gear selector here, auto hold, and some other modes down here. You haven't got the rotary rotor anymore, which you had on all previous BMWs to control the screen over there. So everything is quite sort of touch screen. These seats, they are quite nice. They are leather and suede, or Alcantara if you will as well, so they look quite good. The center armrest here doesn't really open up as such, and it is a little bit small for your passenger and your driver, so you might end up like beating your elbows around there. But the overall fit and finish of it is quite good. Cup holders or the door bins are not lined up with any felt or anything, and yeah, and that's the key obviously, which is quite a nice looking key, quite big unnecessarily. You've got some buttons on the side there, but also I have found some real poor plastic. So all of this stuff up here is quite nice, but there's an area down the bottom here which is quite rubbish to be honest, but you're probably not really going to touch that, or it's kind of out the way. The other thing I have been a little bit disappointed with is you've got 82% battery range but only 154 miles. Now when I picked this car up, it had 95% battery range, and the mile or the range was 180. So it has dropped a bit, but normally when they say that you're gonna only recharge the battery up to 80%, well, it's at 80% and it's gonna give you a range of about 150 miles, which is a bit poor. So in terms of, like, say, performance, this is a 30 derivative. Essentially it comes with like about a 65 kilowatt battery pack. It has 300 horsepower going through all four wheels, because you got like a motor at the front axle and the rear. 0 to 60 in about 5.7 seconds, so I can't imagine it's going to be that slow. This car, in the way it's all kind of set up, it is definitely a class above the previous X1 and the X2s as well, because I think the X2 in this new kind of shape and format is going to have a very similar interior, so it definitely looks more premium. I will say that these double screens up here, again, they are quite nice when you're just looking at them, but again, I don't think they are as good as what you will probably find in, let's say, the G23 series, because they're just a little bit bigger. I mean, this screen has got quite a bit of a bezel, or dead space rather, in here, whereas I remember in the G20 they were pretty much all the way across. So in terms of spec, this car is spec'd out decently. It's got electric seats, it's got the lovely pan roof as you can see up here. I think a pan roof in any kind of SUV is a must. I mean, this one does open up as well, which is quite good as well. It's got a heated steering wheel, it's got heated seats, it's even got massaging seats, which I figured out as I went through different drive modes or whatever, and I was in a mode called relaxed, which if we go down into my modes here, you got personal, which I think is like an individual, sport, efficient, I don't know what this is, but if I go into relaxed, I can already feel I'm getting massage. So you got massage seats here, and right now I'm sat here and yeah, the lumbar support is actually massaging my lower back, which is quite nice. So there's a few options that this car doesn't have. Like, it doesn't have like Harman Kardon sound, it doesn't have a head-up display, but it looks like it's got the comfort pack because it's got keyless entry, which I don't know, in this day and age you probably want to just switch that off. And as part of the comfort pack, perhaps it's got the massaging seats, because I can't imagine massaging seats on this car being standard feature. I don't know, maybe they are. So as this is an electric car, you don't have any gears, you've got a drive selector in terms of reverse and drive, and therefore you don't really need any paddles on the steering wheel. Now you do have one paddle here, and it's called boost. Essentially what that does is, when you are driving and you pull on that paddle like that for 10 seconds, it will give you full attack mode. And essentially what that means is, for 10 seconds you've got the full maximum power of the battery to really pull away in any overtaking scenario, just to give yourself that little bit of a hoon. So earlier on when I was talking about, like, say, the quality of the interior, admittedly you're not really going to be reaching down here to touch that piece of plastic, so I can forgive the cheapness there. And yes, you might rub your hand against the cheap plastic piece here when you are grabbing the water bottle. But one thing that I can't forgive BMW for is how cheap this indicator stalk here feels. It is probably made out of the cheapest plastic out there, and it actually feels cheaper than the one on this side, because this one here is quite nicely damped, whereas this one, and unfortunately the indicator stalk is probably the one that you're going to touch the most, because that's always on auto. So once you got that set, you're not really going to touch it. But the indicator stalk, yes, I know there's a lot of like memes around BMWs, and you know, they're not really fitted with indicators as such, but yeah, if you are quite courteous and you are going to indicate, that really has got a cheap feeling. And I don't understand why they've cheaped out on that stalk, and that one feels absolutely fine. So I've given you the highlights and the lowlights of the interior of this iX1. I'm now going to go and show you the exterior. Now for that I'm going to go to an underground car park, because hopefully there'll be ample lighting there. We are in almost winter now, and in the UK it gets dark around 4 o'clock, and I'm kind of heading towards that time as well. So it'll be better if I go to an underground car park and in detail show you the exterior. Following that, we'll take you for a drive. I've got the key for the BMW iX1, which is right here, and now I'm going to show you some key features about the car. So first of all, from the front end, we'll start off with the badge itself. As you can see, it's got like a blue ring around the BMW logo, which means that it's an electric car. If you stay with the front end, the front grille for example, again, it's not really a grille, it's a plastic piece. Behind here you've got some sensors for all sorts of stuff that goes on, and the grille is surrounded by like a blue accent, which again means that it's an electric car. But down the bottom we do have like a mesh grille to keep the motors or some kind of rads cool. So I do like the bonnet design on this iX1. You've got this kind of like a power dome going on here. Surely there's no V8 under there or a straight 6. Anyway, I do like the light design here. It's pretty much in keeping with the current BMW design. They are LEDs. If we move on to the alloy wheels, this one is finished off with these 19-inch diamond cut bi-color alloys. They're wrapped around with the Pirelli P0 tires. Other highlights of the M Sport pack on this car is that it has privacy glass around the rear, high gloss black trim around the windows, it's got the black roof rails. It's also got a nice panoramic glass roof, which as you can see is open, and it will let in a lot of light into The cabin, which is quite good. So if you move around the rear end of the car, I'm going to talk you through some of the design features that I like about this car. The first thing is I like the way this car looks from this 3/4 view. I think it's probably one of the best views of this car. Personally, I do like the way these rear lights are sculptured. They've got this kind of a 3D effect going on, which I think looks really fantastic. The thing I like about this iX1 is the way it's kind of profiled, even for like say a mini kind of SUV. I like the roof line, the way it kind of like slopes downwards towards the back. Being an electric car, it doesn't have any exhaust on either side. It has got this kind of, let's call it like a diffuser, which obviously is fake, and you've got like these kind of blue accents which I kind of think are unnecessary because there's no exhaust, so this could have been a little bit more sublime, you know, just a bit more plain, but they've obviously gone to town with like pouring a bit of colour onto this paintwork and this rear end. So when you open the electric tailgate, you've got this much space. I don't know the exact amount, but it's big enough. I mean, if I compare that to my Golf GTI, it's bigger than that. You haven't really got much storage space under here because that's taken up by the electric cables, and they are quite chunky. Like I said, this is my first hands-on experience with an electric car, so yeah, I'm all kind of new to all of that stuff. So I thought I might as well jump in the back and give you guys a full-on practicality review. And the only reason I jumped in the back is just to see how much space is actually available back here. Now, I'm about 5'7", I'm not the tallest guy in the world, so for me this might not be a problem. Now this front driving seat is in my driving position, and I've got quite a lot of leg room, as you can see here. That for me is pretty much the same as it is in my Golf GTI, so it's a good kind of comparison from there. I have noticed that the door tops on the back are not as soft as they are in the front, and generally like the rest of like say the door card here is quite cheap sort of plastic. I think one thing that I have found annoying is that when I'm sat in the back here, the seat base is quite low, probably because of the battery pack, and therefore there's not much under leg support, even in the way I'm sat. Now there is quite a lot of headroom, so if you are like quite a tall person, you'll be absolutely fine here, even though that this car's got the brilliant panoramic roof. Other things, you've got heating back here, and you have got 2 USB ports as well, which is quite a good thing. So I'm eager to see what's under the bonnet of this car, because I'm hoping there's a little bit more storage, as it's an electric car. Don't expect there to be an engine under here. So let's see what's here. Wasn't expecting that. What this is? Oh, right, okay, you've got some electric stuff going on under there. A bit of a missed opportunity, because I think that could have been used for a little bit more storage. So now I think what we'll do is, can't really give you any startup or exhaust sounds because there's not going to be any, but we'll take you on that drive. So if you have made it this far into the vid, I hope you are going to hit the subscribe button, and while you're there, give this vid a like as well. So you join me now the following day from the previous shots that you saw where I was in a car park, only because now it's a little bit more brighter outside. I'm going to take this car down the same country roads where I do my driving. I'm probably going to do a little bit more driving outside of those country lanes as well, just to kind of get a feel for what this car is all about. Now, a bit of a status check as well. My battery is down to 45% and my range is down to 92%. I've driven this car pretty much like the way I would normally drive my own car. My driving is as realistic as it can be. If I look at that range, for example, 45% with 92 miles range, I know it's just an indication, but if I have 45% petrol in my Golf GTI, for example, and that's got like a 50 litre tank, I would normally have about 150 mile range in that. So yes, I know electric cars and petrol powered cars are slightly different in comparison, but there you have it. Now for an electric car, obviously this is quite quiet. I am in like a normal drive mode as well. The gearbox or the drive selector you can put into a battery mode where it does all the regen braking and all of that stuff, but at the moment I'm not in there. Now just listen to this sound, and I hope the GoPro picks it up. When you are on the throttle, it feels like there's this kind of instrument being played, like a wind instrument or something. It's quite quirky to start with, but honestly I'm feeling quite sick with that. It feels like someone's like, I don't know, pulling your stomach. You can switch it off, of course. The car does feel well planted. It's probably an Aeron 2-ton car, so the road holding on this car is surprisingly good. I do like the amount of space in this car. I mean, it is like an X1, then with obviously like the electrification on that, but it is nicely specced out, which I think makes it a nice pleasant place to kind of spend your driving. The driving experience, there is quite a lot of road noise, so it's probably not as quiet as, let's say, a typical electric car. Perhaps to me it feels like I'm actually just driving like a petrol powered car because of the amount of noise it is. One thing that I can't argue with is how effortless this car is to drive, being an EV. The throttle response is instant. Things are just flying away in the car. That's how instant that throttle response is. This car has got 300 horsepower, so it's not exactly like slow. 0 to 60 is 5.7 seconds, and I'm just going to give you an illustration of that throttle response again. Yeah, these numbers on the dash, when they're just coming up, they're like literally, you're just going through these numbers. It's absolutely like quick as anything that I've driven recently. The acceleration in this is quicker than most cars. Probably even put it up there with my M4. I'll tell you what this reminds me of right now. Let me know if you agree. This is my first hands-on experience with an EV. The acceleration is absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, so this is a 50-mile-an-hour road, and I'm going to do like a little acceleration here for you guys. So we're just doing like 26 miles an hour. Let's see how quick it can get to 50. Bang. So when I say the acceleration is mad, it's absolutely insane, you know, like how it just accelerates, and like the kind of push that you get in the sea is just, it's just crazy. There is no gearbox. You've got a drive select, essentially one gear, and it will continue in that gear all the way to like its top speed. I've done some like say motorway driving in this, and again it's really effortless to drive. The other thing that I can notice is that being like an Aeron 2-ton car, probably even over, I am feeling that through like say these small bends and whatnot in the road, there is a lot of like body lean, and that's where you start to lose the confidence in the car, because it just feels like, not that it's going to fall over or anything, but as it's so like fast, you can't hold that kind of speed through the bends. I feel it just feels like you're just going to understeer perhaps or something, and that can go horribly wrong. So you don't feel like pushing it through the corners as such. Whereas if this was like a petrol powered car, you might be able to do that a little bit better. One thing I really hate is this indicator stalk. It feels cheap and nasty. The other thing is the brake pedal. For probably about 20% of your travel on the brake pedal, nothing happens. And I'll illustrate that now. My foot is on the brake, I'm pressing, nothing happens, and then everything happens. I don't understand that, because there's no, in this mode there's not much regen going on, so it's not like you let off the accelerator and the car is slowing down or anything. The reliance is on the brake pedal, but nothing happens for that 20% of travel, and then literally everything. That is annoying. It is a real nice comfortable place to be though for an X1. I mean, the previous X1s, let's say the generation 1, rubbish, horrible design and really cheap and nasty looking from that point. The Gen 2, when that came around, I went out in like an X2 and then an X2 35 or something like that, and I didn't really enjoy the interior of those. It just felt like it was a mishmash of part 1 series and part something else and whatnot. This does feel really nice from behind here. Like every touch point apart from the indicator stalk feels nice. Leatherette here, nice armrest, and the overall design feels really upmarket and more in keeping with, like, say, what a BMW should feel like. So we don't have any flappy paddles because it's a 1-speed automatic, but we do have a paddle on this side which says boost. Now essentially what happens is when you pull on that paddle is that for 10 seconds it puts the car into full attack mode. So let's do that now. Let's just slow down a little bit. So let's say we are doing 25 miles an hour. It's mind-boggling, that is, how quick that acceleration was. You literally get pinned to your seat and the car just shoots off. In terms of anxiety, now, like I said, I've been driving this car for the last day, 2 days. This is the second day I've had it. My range has dropped significantly, like say from 200 miles is right down to 85 right now. The percentage on the battery has gone down from 95% to 41%. It's not really causing me any anxiety because I know, okay, when that's going to drop, I'll just go and charge it up somewhere. What's causing me anxiety is finding a, let's say, a fast charger somewhere, which I'm sure there's plenty of them around, but then going and realizing that there's probably a number of cars, one being charged, two waiting to be charged, and then how long of that is going to eat into my time. That's the anxiety where I'm having to kind of think, okay, I might need to charge this up at some point, and that's the bit I'm not looking forward to. Look, I don't look forward to going and filling my car up with fuel or anything like that, but I know I can go to a fuel station, splash and dash, and I'm out of there within literally, like, say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. This going from, like, I don't know, 10-15% battery to 80% is going to take me at least half an hour. That's the anxiety that I can't really plan into my day-to-day life right now. Yeah, and of course, if you've got like a home charger, it makes things easier for you, and that's something that you might want to do. But at best, I'm probably going to struggle to get more than 250 miles out of this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the car into the B mode. Okay, and straight away I can feel that the throttle response has slowed down, and there's a lot of regen going on as well. So as soon as I'm off the accelerator, you can probably see me just moving forward like that. That's because the car is braking itself. You can actually do one pedal drive in this as well, and the car will come to a complete stop. There's a car behind me, so I can't really demonstrate that right now, but we will shortly. But it is literally you having to modulate the throttle so that you can actually accelerate, decelerate without having to do that too aggressively. Like, so for example, if I totally come off the accelerator, it starts braking. So by just modulating it, you can kind of like slow down that braking process. So right here, I'm going to turn into a road. My foot is totally off the accelerator, and I've actually come to a complete stop right there. One pedal drive is pretty decent, but you got to get used to it. I've been driving this one pedal mode and like the full regen braking situation. I haven't really seen like an improve in range or battery percentage per se, so I don't really understand it. Like, what is it trying to do? Is it trying to help you brake without you having to brake? I don't know. So I'm sure it does something, but I've not really experienced much on that kind of front. You know what, this is a 300 horsepower car, and that's fine. You know, that's a power number. I wouldn't go as far as saying that this is actually like a performance car. Acceleration is mad, no doubt about that, but it's not a performance car. If, like, you know, you kind of think, oh, is it going to be like a, I don't know, Golf R, for example, that has 300 horsepower or something like that. It's not. It doesn't handle anywhere as near as, let's say, something that's meant to have 300 horsepower or anything like that. I think the main thing is that there is no real connection between the driver and the car. There's no emotion. Look, there's no sound coming out of the engine or anything like that, which is fine. We live in this type of world right now. But the thing is, it's like, it's just a tool to be used to commute. That's it. Look, you can go and you can have like an internal combustion engine car, whatever it is, yeah. You might be rolling gears, there's a connection there. You'll be pressing pedals, you'll be like literally driving the car, you'll be operating a machine, you know, no matter what you are, or, you know, you might not have been to like say cars or whatever, but you are operating a machine. There's an emotion, there's a connection. Here there's none of that. You know, I'm an avid, you know, car enthusiast. I love anything that's got wheels, but this is something that doesn't really excite me in drive. I mean, I went to work, it was really like comfortable to drive there, the acceleration was mad or whatever, but I didn't come out the other side and kind of think, oh, you know what, I actually enjoyed that drive. It was just a drive. Whereas if I'm in the GTI, or if I'm in like say the M4, albeit they are automatic DCT DSG gearboxes, there is a connection. Yeah, with this there's nothing. It makes sense having an electric car as a company car buyer. I mean, I would say 80-90% of electric cars out there right now are run by company car drivers because of like the benefits with P11D. That's the only way it makes sense. You can go out there and you can buy one of these privately. I'd like to know how many of you have actually done that, and whether you are anxious about how much your car is worth after a year, because I've seen some, let's say, pre-registered cars on the forecourts for pretty much 30% knocked off their price with 0 miles on the car in the first year, or within a few months even. And then there's obviously the longevity of the battery. How long is that going to last? If you've got like if you're going out and buying a 3-year-old car right now, and like an electric EV, and you keep it for about, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years or whatever, how long has that battery got until it like expires? And then what impact does that have on the value of that car, like the residual value? Don't know. So if I was to sum up my experience with this EV over the last couple of days, how would I put it? Okay, this particular one is really nicely equipped. Okay, this is like, it's got pretty much everything going for it right now, with like the tech and the package and how this is all put together. So I think from that point, great. It is like a normal, let's call it a BMW, so I'm sure they've got everything that they can throw into it. The kind of EV-ness about this, it will make perfect sense to, let's say, company car drivers around town. I think it makes perfect sense, you know, if you want to, you know, keep your emissions down or whatnot. But equally, then I'd probably go and buy a plug-in hybrid, because that would achieve what I want to do. The UK, for example, the infrastructure still isn't there, you know, in terms of charging points and accessible charging points everywhere. Like, yeah, okay, you might go into a supermarket car park, you might find a few there, but again, there might be a queue of cars or whatever. So that's, I think, the issue right now where we are. We're probably still quite a way away from, let's say, making EVs mainstream. I think that's my kind of take on it. Then obviously there is the whole longevity issue of batteries and the reliability of them. So I think that's where I'm at with it. I have enjoyed my time with this, especially with the acceleration. But I think after a while that could probably even get boring, because yeah, I mean, I've dropped 2% of my battery just doing that. But overall, guys, I hope that you have somewhat found this vid informative, enjoyable. If you're looking to buy like the iX1 as your car, or ordering one as a company car, I hope that you have found this useful. If you have, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care, bye.